I've had my Himalayan 411 for 5 months now, and I've taken it off-road. I've taken it through Europe.
Oui, baguette.
And there's a few reasons why I think this might just be the most perfect beginner bike. But it's not without its quirks, which the 450 is supposed to rectify. And I've been battling in my head whether I should upgrade or not. So today I'm gonna bite the bullet, take the 450 out for a few hours, and finally make a decision.
Oh wow, that is a deal breaker for me. I love that.
But before we see the 450, why exactly did I choose a Himalayan?
Now, as a beginner biker, you don't really know what kind of rider you're going to be. You don't know what roads you're going to enjoy. And the beauty of getting like a lightweight adventure bike is that it's adequate enough on tarmac, but you know, you can also take it off-road. This isn't the best off-roader as such, woohoo! But as a beginner biker, you don't have a lot of skill anyway, so you're not going to be doing anything crazy. So getting something like this that can just soak up all the bumps and tractor through everything, you can make a decision if you enjoy the trail riding more than the on-road. And to be fair, I've kind of discovered that it is this off-road trail riding that I just find a lot more fun.
And as an off-roader, so far it has been great. The 200mm suspension travel has been enough for me. Other videos will show you just how capable this bike can be. The only issue is the foot pegs are quite low, which means you can end up smashing the foot pegs on some bigger ruts. But even if you do damage to the bike, it's not too much of a problem. And the reason for that is I only paid £2,600 for this bike, and you can find them cheaper. This is a 21 reg. It came with 3,000 miles on the clock. It was pretty much immaculate when I brought it. So it really did feel like good bang for my buck. But even so, I'm not scared to, you know, beat this bike around a little bit, because in the grand scheme of things, I'm not actually in that deep. Also, this bike comes with crash bars. I've got my own engine crash bars. And when you do damage the bike, the parts are quite cheap, respectively, compared to other brands. And if you want them a little bit cheaper, you can normally find them on eBay if you don't mind waiting to get them shipped from India. Also, the 411s are considered to be some of the easiest bikes to work on. Even me, without much mechanical knowledge, has managed to remove wheels, fix indicator cabling, and install rear rails. Small things, I know, but with the lack of fairings and fairly simple engineering, the bike is known to be easy to tackle if you want to DIY a job.
Now, if you live in Europe, or especially the UK and where I live, where it's quite rural, the roads are far from perfect, let's just say. A lot of potholes, loose gravel like this, and you can never really anticipate how well the road surface is gonna be. And that's one thing I do love about this bike, right? Because it is dual purpose and it's set up for both off-road and kind of on-road, it does just soak everything up really nicely, which is really handy as a beginner biker, because then you don't really have to worry as much about the road surface, and it just gives you a little bit more confidence. Now, another thing about these narrow roads is, you know, this bike has only got 24 horsepower, so, you know, it really can't take skin off custard. But being on narrow roads like this, with everything zooming past you, you get a much more greater sense of speed, which means you really don't have to be going as fast, and you can just really enjoy some of the narrower B roads, feeling like you're zooming past them all.
And I really do believe that there's a perfect road for every bike. Scooters have cities, cruisers have motorways, and the Himalayan 411 feel like it comes to life on small, badly maintained British B roads. And soon enough, you'll find a certain twisty that has all the qualities needed to fully make use of the humble 24 horsepower and forgiving suspension setup. Now, the next reason is a big one when you're a beginner biker, and that's insurance. I only pay £300, and this is my first bike. Granted, I do live in a low crime area and insurance is a little bit cheaper. I am 28 years old, but this is only a 400cc bike. For some reason, insurers don't see them as much as a risk. Obviously, there is other lightweight adventure motorcycles out there, so why did I choose this one? Well, the reason is because of the tank range. This has got a 15-litre tank. I actually took this bike through Europe. I wanted to see how many countries I could do on one tank of fuel. By the end of it, I did around 450 kilometers, and I still had 2 litres left in the tank. I'm excited to ride the 450 as I'm interested to see if it has the same charm that I experienced with the 411. Now, I found this bike to have a lot of character, but sometimes it can be for the wrong reasons.
Even though I did say, every bike has its perfect road, 24 horsepower, even for a 400cc, is on the lower end. And I do just find this bike just a little bit sloppy, and I feel like I'm wanting something more on the power end. And the 450 does have 41 horsepower, so it is going to be interesting to see how I find that. But I don't know if this is just me getting used to the power, like you can with any bike really. 21 horsepower on a 400cc engine. Oh look, it just leaves me wanting a little bit more.
Also, even though this bike is easy to work on, some of the parts reliability may be a little bit questionable. I had my front tyre changed, and when I put the front tyre back on, I tightened the pinch bolt with a torque wrench. I was waiting for it to click, the torque, and then it just got really loose. Basically, the pinch bolt bracket here just fractured, and I had to get my whole fork replaced. It was about £160, and then you obviously have to balance both forks. That was really annoying. It may have just been my mistake, but it does seem like some of the parts are built to a price, which for the price point, can you really complain? I don't know.
When I first got this bike and I was looking online, I read quite a lot that, it wasn't great on the motorway and you shouldn't expect to be comfortable on long motorway trips. But when I got this bike and I started taking it on a motorway, I thought, this is fine, it keeps it 70 relatively easy, even if it is at the top of the rev range in 5th gear. And the wind protector offers adequate wind protection. But it wasn't until I did my trip to Europe that I started to discover that my knees were absolutely killing me and my bum was extremely sore.
I think it's actually to do with my height, because I'm 6 foot and I'm just slightly too tall for the bike. My knees are bent, meaning they cramp quickly. So I think I will get a different seat for the bike eventually. Now really quickly, I just want to talk about the instrument cluster. A lot of people don't like it. I kind of like it. It looks like an old aeroplane or something. It is pretty cheap feeling. It's quite plasticky. But mine also has this little TFT style display that's only on the newer bikes. And it basically means you can connect to the Royal Enfield app. You can put your directions in it and you can see where you're going. I would not choose this bike over another one just because of the TFT display. You won't use it. It doesn't show you the whole maps, it's just the next direction. You're just gonna put your phone on like a quad lock or something like that and do directions like that. Don't let this be a decision between two bikes. You're not gonna use it. There is a couple of other things that are worth noting. I find the brakes to be quite spongy and unresponsive. The fuel gauge is super unreliable. The handguards are flimsy, and the eagle-eyed among you will notice that one of them has already broken off. Also, no matter how tight I screw the wing mirrors, I can't see anything in them because they are constantly vibrating. Overall then, I have loved my Himalayan 411. Yeah, I wish I had a little bit more power, but for a beginner bike, I think it is awesome. And the support for these bikes is really good. Loads of people got them, everyone's got answers to your questions. But the problems I do have with the bike, the 450 is supposed to rectify. And I'm a compulsive buyer, so let's go test ride it. Now, quick disclaimer, I am a beginner biker and I'm just giving my impressions. I'm not a motorbike journalist and I don't know all the fancy vocabulary, but I'm hoping that because I've only ridden a 411, I can give a fresh perspective. So I've just arrived at Judd Racing in Nottingham, and these are the people who are lending me a Himalayan 450 for a couple of hours. So I'm gonna go inside, go see the bike and take it out. I can't believe how big this shop was. It was like a TARDIS. They had so many bikes, KTM, Norton, Royal Enfield and so much more. They also sell gear and have an online parts store. If you want to check them out, you can use the link in the description or click on the QR code in the corner. Big thanks to them for lending me this Himalayan 450. Wow, okay, here we go on the Himalayan 450.
And straight off the bat, everything feels much lighter and much more agile, and I feel much more higher up, and I think that's to do with the fact that this has got the rally seat because it sits higher than the stock seat that you can get, which is adjustable. I think this gives you 40 millimeters more height. Like, I really feel like I'm on top of the bike, where my 411 I feel like I'm sitting in the bike, if that makes sense. This is the Mono Black edition. We've got the higher windshield, which I would definitely opt for, but the standard one is maybe on the smaller side. Arrow exhaust on it, so it's not the stock exhaust. It hasn't got that kind of of pat-pat-patness that my bike's got. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's more of like a raw engine sound. I kind of like it. And talking about the TFT, I have got my phone linked up to it. I want to see how it would do on the maps. My initial thoughts, I've always kind of thought you don't need like a TFT really, just put your phone there, it's absolutely fine. And I still do believe that, but it is nice having everything on one screen, your speed, your gear, your maps. It is just easier to look at, and in general that's how I feel about UI. You do want it to look nice, but more importantly you just want it to work, and in this case it does just work. You have got buttons on your handlebar, so I'm using this little analog stick thing to change between navigation, music. One thing I like about this is you can see MPG, more trip information than you would get on my Himalayan 411. Oh, and you can also see a fuel range, which is absolutely great. When I did my trip across Europe to see how many countries I could do on one tank of fuel, I couldn't see how much range I'd got left. I kind of just had to guess. So if you're doing long miles and you want to see how much fuel range you're going to get, you're only going to get that with this bike. Oh wow, it's definitely more powerful. It's not rip your head off powerful, but it's just got that extra oomph where in the 411 you feel in certain circumstances you need that extra power. Allows you to get out of situations that might be a little bit dangerous as such. But slower roads like this, going around town, yeah, it does just feel bit more agile. The steering's lighter, the gear changing is much lighter, the clutch is lighter. Just feels a lot easier to deal with and a lot less clunky maybe than the Himalayan 411. Right, national speed limit here. A nice stretch of free road. Second at 20 miles per hour. Wow. Definitely got more power. About 23 horsepower on the Himalayan 411, 40 miles per hour here. Even though it's the same weight, it does, to me, it just feels lighter, and obviously it's a speed as well, but it just feels more agile, and in general, it feels just better on the road. These bikes aren't made to perform extremely well on the tarmac. They're a bit of a jack of all trades, but I am having more fun putting this around some twisties than I would on my 411, that's for sure. And part of it is that extra power in that third and fourth gear, where you're spending a lot of your time when you're on a fast twisty road. Feels like you can just adapt your speed a lot quicker. Wow, it feels more agile. Why is that?
So the reason that the 450 felt a little bit more agile was because the weight is a little bit further down, meaning that you have more leverage to maneuver the bike. Whereas on the 411, the weight is further up, meaning it's a lot harder to turn it.
Oh, this is so much more fun on the road. And it's all to do with just how lighter everything you touch on the bike feels. Another thing is, the tank feels much bigger. I feel like I can't squeeze it as much as my bike. It's much wider. Obviously, it's a bigger tank, 17 litres. But yeah, it doesn't feel like it can grip the tank. And I think that's just the way it's angled at the sides here. Kind of angles out. That's another thing. This bike has different modes. On the 411, I only got one throttle mapping really, and you're kind of stuck with it. This has got eco, performance, and an off-road setting, so you can have the rear ABS turned off. Another thing about this, 6 gear instead of 5 gears, making it less vibey when you're on a motorway. You're not getting all those vibrations because it obviously is still a single cylinder, and that 6 gear is just going to help with that. It's going to help with the efficiency a little bit as well. Another thing I want to point out really quickly actually, as I turn the bike off. Oh my god, it almost feels like I'm gonna drop it when I put it on its side stand. It's so angled, which sounds like I'm complaining. I love that. I actually think that's amazing because on my 450, the bike is so upright that sometimes I feel like if there's a bit of a gradient that it's gonna fall over. Damn. Yeah, back up. Do you know what it feels like with this suspension, right? Bigger holes, bigger dips feel exactly the same. and the suspension does have the same amount of travel. Just feels like it smooths out the more, you know, little bumps, kind of irons them out a little bit, and the engine just much more smoother actually. Feels less of a single cylinder. If that makes sense.
What I didn't know at the time was that the 450 has rubber handlebar mounts, and this absorbs the vibrations that come through the bike. And I think this is the reason it felt so much smoother to me.
In terms of my knees, I do feel taller on this bike, and my knees are less bent. What I love about this seat, what I've just realised, so I can sit anywhere on it, which sounds so stupid, but because I've got that dip on the 411, you're kind of just stuck in one position, but especially when I'm on a motorway. Sometimes you kind of want to adjust where you sat so your knees can get a bit of a break. That's it, I would have the rally seat. I'm being serious, that is a deal breaker for me. I love that. In terms of the wind buffeting, even going 60 on a road like this probably isn't as good as my wind protector. I feel like on my shoulders a bit more, I can hear it in my helmet a bit more, so I can't imagine what the smaller one's like, so I'll definitely get this bigger one, but I almost feel like the 411s is just a little bit more protective. Gets up to speed a lot easier. I knew that would happen though. A lot less vibrations going through my bum. Yeah, it's easier to keep at 70 for sure. It's not a crazy difference, but it does feel like I can hold it there a lot easier. And being able to switch around on my seat now, that's nice. Give my knees a bit of a break. Although I don't think I'd have that problem on this bike, because it does suit my height a lot better. What people really say is that the 411 was kind of a testing ground or a prototype for the 450. The 450 is the Himalayan pretty much in its final form, and I can see, you know, where they're coming from. It's got a lot of the stuff that you kind of feel like you're missing with a 411. Some of it is simple stuff, you know, integrated maps, just makes it a lot easier. USB-C for charging, bit of a quicker engine. Do I feel like I have to jump out and upgrade to the 450 straight away? With the price point, this one is about 6,400, but I feel like they probably start about 5,700, and you can get 411 for 2,500 on average. They're both cheap bikes in the grand scheme of things, and they're very accessible. You know, you don't have this gear fear as such. You don't feel like, oh no, don't want to drop it. I mean, of course you don't want to drop your bike, but you're in for a lot less money. And, you know, if price didn't matter, what would I choose? Would I choose the 411 or 450? I mean, no brainer. I'll choose the 450. You know, it tightens up on those aspects where the 411 is kind of just missing a little bit. But the difference between £2,600 and 5,700 is a lot of money, especially when you're just starting out. Oh, it is just so much more fun around the corners because you've got that extra speed. It's just not a deal breaker for me though. Just feels like you can do more with it. It's where on the 411 it really feels like you have to find the right road for it, whereas this is more versatile. After riding this, I actually have come to appreciate my 411 for what it is. This is an amazing bike, but I'm happy with my choice. I want to say big thanks to Judd Racing for letting me take this out. They have an amazing shop. That place is like a TARDIS. They've got so many bikes there. KTM, Norton, Royal Enfield. Please go check it out. Really helps my channel as well. Now, if you want to see me off-roading my Himalayan 411, click on the window on the left. And if you want to subscribe so you don't miss any more content, then you can click my big fat head on the right. Thanks for watching.